Wache and welcome. This is Anne from the Sioux Lookout Practice Consultant team, and you're listening to the Practice.Support podcast, the one and only show that discusses new practice updates and changes for ISC's Ontario region. Coming to you with acknowledgement to the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose traditional and unceded territory this podcast is recorded on, and with respect to the different traditional Indigenous territories of Turtle Island that this podcast may find you. Today I have Craig O'Brien, a nurse practice consultant with ISC for over 3 years and has been nursing for over 30 years. He's here to chat about a new I&Ds module. Welcome to the show, Craig.
Thanks, Anne.
So what's this new I&Ds module that we're talking about today?
So it's the Incision and Drainage module that has been created on I&Ds, and it's something that most of the nurses would be familiar with from orientation.
Is this available to nurses who haven't had a recent orientation?
Absolutely. It's available to any nurse, whether they're agency or ISC, who didn't receive an orientation.
So why do we have an I&Ds module on incision and drainage?
Well, as we all know, orientation is changing, and we used to provide it during our face-to-face sessions, but have moved it virtually in order to allow the nurses to be able to do this after they've been hired and working in the field for a while.
So while still not a common skill, it's still a required skill.
That's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this module? What can the nurses expect in it?
So once they have access to I&Ds and are able to log in and search the catalog of information, they'll be able to find in the module itself all of the supporting information to help us become better at performing incision and drainage. There is the New England Journal of Medicine paper, as well as the same video that supports that paper, ISC's policy, and then it also talks about why this is required to be certified annually for all nurses that are going to perform that.
So what sort of things would they see in the video? Is it literally everything, a true incision and drainage?
Absolutely. So they'll be given information about how to prepare for an incision and drainage, when an incision and drainage would be indicated to be performed, how to actually perform it, and then any aftercare follow-up that may be needed and teaching that you could provide.
That sounds like a great video, Craig. So are there any other key points or items of interest or anything special about incision and drainage?
Well, the one thing that I'd like to point out is that the teaching is done to be able to give nurses that are working in the communities the ability to perform the incision and drainage, but it doesn't necessarily give them the authority to initiate that. So even after having the course through I&Ds and completing the module and certification, a consultation with a physician or NP is still required for that nurse to perform it.
That's a great point. Thanks, Craig. Beyond our I&Ds module, is there any other place they can access this information? Say they want to go back and review, but they've already done the module previously?
So within the module, there's actually documents that they could download to their device, should they wish to, then they can refer back to at any point in time, or re-log into the I&Ds module and they'll be able to watch the videos again if they wish, whatever they feel best fits their learning needs.
Well, that sounds great, Craig. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today with us and talking about incision and drainage.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you all for listening to the Practice.Support podcast. If you're keen to follow up on any of the information you've heard today, head on over to One Health and I&Ds, where you'll find more links and resources. For more practice updates, don't forget to find and follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel at Sioux Lookout Nursing.Practice.Support. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to a nurse practice consultant, an education practice advisor, or your manager. That's all for this episode, folks. See you at our next podcast.